Okay. I have my sunglasses on today because I am having an allergy situation. If you don't know, I have very intense, crippling seasonal allergies. I sound like I'm joking, but I deadass am not. It's pretty debilitating. There are obviously way worse things to have. If you hear me sniffling, I'm not sick. I don't have COVID. I'm just allergic to the world, and that's so fun and great. And my eyes are super puffy, so I think everybody watching this would be like, holy shit, she's zooted. I mean, this is the Rolling with Katie podcast, and do we have a little spice added to our day? Absolutely, but I would never want to tarnish my credibility or have anybody question my ability to chat about quite literally the worst television I've ever witnessed in my entire life. That includes when they did What the Fox Say on Glee. Guys, what's up? Welcome back to Rolling with Katie. I'm your host, Katie. Joining me today is my air purifier on level 1000 because, as I said before, I have an allergy problem. I'm also allergic to cats, and because I can't say no to my girlfriend, the cat quantity in our home has doubled. So that's awesome. No, they're actually the joy of my entire life. I wouldn't give them up for anything, and I would suffer tenfold for them, and I would die for them. I'm turning into Michaela. That was my check-in. Pretty quick and speedy, but I want to get into this episode because it was long as shit, and it was fucking bad. Like, it was horrible. I don't have any reservations saying that. Season 3, episode 7, the penultimate episode of this fucking shit show. Thank God. Rain or shine, we get an Ollie backstory, which I'm living for right away at the beginning. It's a beautiful shot, but I just question, like, is that what a crackhead would look like? It's just Coleman Domingo looking sexy as hell, chiseled. It's a beautiful shot, and I think that's what matters about it. And he's puffing out a cloud of crack smoke, and he has like the two lamps on either side of him, and I'm like, fuck yes, finally an Ollie backstory. Hasn't been in this entire season, but okay, I'm still sad. These first 10 minutes, and I wouldn't even say the entirety of it, I would just say certain aspects of this intro to this episode where we get an Ollie backstory is the best 10 minutes of the episode by far. Some would argue, and maybe I would argue, that it's the best 10 minutes of the entire season. Honestly, I think these backstories, and I've referred to them as vignettes or little short films where we have a completely different cast of characters or one familiar character and it's their backstory. I think those kind of are low-key the strongest aspects of this show at this point, or one of them, because no one wants to be making what this show was. You don't get to just take the same characters from a show that we were watching and then put them into something and do a completely different show. Don't come for me. This is a hot take. But this entire third season feels like rape culture. And let me tell you why. We were presented a show about high schoolers and addiction, okay, and different levels of addiction and what it is like to be in high school in this super sexually charged internet world that we live in. And it was a very hyper dramatized HBO teen drama, right? Following a group of teenagers, young people, and these really awesome, well-crafted characters that people fell in love with. It launched the careers of pretty much everybody involved in this cast. I won't even say that. So many people in this cast, like Coleman Domingo, like Jacob Elordi, Sydney Sweeney, all of them just skyrocketed because of what the show was. Now we're watching those characters, so many arcs and plot lines just obviously don't align with the action and the cinema, the story that Sam Levinson is trying to make. If you wanted to make a Western style, Quentin Tarantino inspired feature, go do that. Go fucking do that. Don't use all of this money and success and star power. You have so many great artists attached to this show, and you're gonna use this show as a vehicle for your trauma porn fetish, like torture passion project. It's disgusting. I feel so misled. I'm hate watching it out of spite at this point. I will never watch this shit again. Hello, Pluto. Hi, baby. He knows I'm getting upset, so he's like, Mom, chill. I'm sorry to go off on this big tangent happened right away. If a woman pulled this shit, if a woman garnered a shit ton of success from the first season of a show, first 2 seasons of a show, and then made a completely different show that she wanted to make, people would riot. People would be in the streets. She would be excised from Hollywood. She would never work again. She would never get away with it. It would never be made in the first place. This reads as the first draft of some 20-year-old film student's feature. It feels so unchecked in so many different levels. It comes off so clearly that he gets off on upsetting people and punishment and torture. And I can appreciate and acknowledge shock value and putting an audience in unsettling, upsetting, situations when you're watching the show. A lot of season 1 and 2, your heart is racing for Rue or for Jules or any other character who's kind of in like a dangerous situation that are within the confines of this show. Rue isn't even struggling with addiction. When you are an addict, you're an addict for life and you struggle. I'm not an addict, but I know addicts, and it's not just like you get over it. That is not part of the conversation at all. This season, it's really just Rue being punished for and trying to redeem everything that she did in the first 2 seasons. And we have her in this episode like apologizing to Lori and being like, I just stole that suitcase to get high. Like, that's the closest we get to an arc at all with Rue. The whole aspect of her character of being an addict and struggling with addiction, all we're really seeing is the punishment, the fallout of that, the issues with her mom and her trying to remedy that relationship. And when she's talking to Lexi and telling her what's actually happening in her life, it's like the boy who cried wolf. Like, she just has lied so many times that no one believes her and they just think she's crazy, and she wants to move on from that. I get that. I just feel like I'm watching Breaking Bad with the characters of Euphoria. They've completely lost what we originally started watching this show for. The first 10 minutes, I think I felt something genuinely for the first time. I felt moved as an audience member for the first time this entire season. We were talking about addiction. It felt like I was watching Euphoria again. It felt consistent. We're seeing the reality of people being addicted to something, and on a broader scale, a society that does not help those people. I thought it was very well done with Ollie and his sponsees and the difficulty during COVID, which was a very real thing for people. Without gathering for meetings, it became a lot more difficult for people to stay sober. That was a real demonstrative, like, statistical thing that did happen during COVID and the pandemic. So I appreciate that. Touching on a piece of our culture that really, that part of the pandemic wasn't discussed by any other media that we're seeing right now. The shot of Ali talking to this young man and telling him that tomorrow will be bright, or the future will be bright if he just sticks to the program, sticks to the steps, stays clean, the future will be bright. And then cut to the kids in a casket. Like, what a fucking gut punch. And this character, sponsor with a heart of gold, that is Ali, we're seeing his exposure to the harsh reality of addiction and his road to redemption, and for remedying the things that he did in the past to his ex-wife and daughters. For him, redemption is not only getting sober, but helping others get sober. It seems like young people especially. It seems like he's trying to prevent young people not only from dying, but from making the same mistakes that he did. And that's his road to redemption, faith and God. Particularly this Old Testament story of Moses is really becoming more clear with this episode, and we'll get into that. But really, this entire season and Rue's theme, and I guess kind of all of the characters' theme, has been redemption. With the other characters like Maddie and Cassie and Nate, it feels more like atonement. It's less so redemption, and it feels like these people are being punished. And then I'm over here, worried that he's gonna do the same shit with Rue, that she's not going to make it to the promised land, just like Moses ended up not making it, and Rue is being hearkened to Moses Moses more and more frequently as we're leading up to the conclusion of this season. So, and I don't think biblical references makes your shit good. Again, another hot take. So many things make biblical references. Sometimes it's executed really well and it really makes you think. And other times it's like, okay, you just did that to make me feel like your shit was better than it actually was. I don't hate what the biblical references with Rue and Moses and the burning bush. I hate it because it heightens the stakes of like, okay, well, Moses didn't make it to the promised land. Also, Moses's brother, who I'm pretty sure we're hearkening Ali to, pretty much ends up being sacrificed so that Moses can lead the Israelites to the promised land. It's hard to say how I feel about the women, the IDs that Rue finds, and those women I think are kind of symbolizing the Israelites, and Rue is Moses and she's gonna free them, ? I don't know. I mean, I fucking hope that's how it ends. I don't know why that is like a reveal at this point. I thought we knew that Alamo was trafficking and selling women, and it's surprising to me also that the DEA hasn't been like, hey, we're pretty sure this man is trafficking human beings. Here's what you need to do. I thought when Rue dropped Angel off at that facility that she knew what was going on there. Also, when she asked Kitty if she was being forced to work for Alamo, I thought she knew then too. But then we have this campfire scene with Lori, this fucking crazy ass Nazi bonfire. What are the words coming out of my mouth? Truly, what are we talking about? Euphoria, apparently, starring Zendaya. Like, what? Hello? Anyways, we have this bonfire scene with Lori where she's kind of explaining, like, you don't know what he does? Like, obviously he's trafficking people. I'm just annoyed with Rue, like, Diva, what? How did you not realize this? So if it ends with anything other than Rue freeing these women and, that is her path to redemption, I'm worried that Ali is going to sacrifice himself. I'm worried that he is going to show up anyways to save Rue. I think that's fucking bullshit that we didn't see him all season, and then they're like, oh, let's throw in this backstory and make his death a super hard-hitting punch. Going back to Ali's backstory, I feel like this intro with his black book and he's writing down the names and the dates of his sponsees that he loses. This episode is already so permeated with death and just that darkness that I have talked about. Not that I'm super duper religious, but I always just say a little prayer after this show and like tell the universe that I am with God and with the light, because it does truly feel like the devil lives in this show at this point and in this man, Sam Levinson, he who shall not be named. I think it's being set up that we don't want Rue's name to be written in that black book, and I think Ali really doesn't want what he's seen happen so many times to happen to Rue. We have that scene with the two of them talking. I didn't think it was the most strong scene ever, but it does feel like we're really being set up to see that Ali would rather sacrifice himself than lose another sponsor, in particular Rue. We didn't learn a ton of new information about Ali at all. We just kind of saw his past, but we knew that his relationship with his ex-wife was bad and abusive, and then he kind of became estranged to his daughters because of what he put them through, and all of that we saw again and got to see play out. Not gonna say no to Natasha Lyonne being on my screen, especially if she's Coleman Domingo's scene partner. Like, I love. Get that bag, diva. There's some crazy medical event, so that's the other thing. We don't really know what happened, but some probably life-threatening thing happened to Ali. He wakes up and there's a huge stitch down his chest. Again, I'm wondering if that is setting up his death in the finale episode, because now we know that there's something going on there. Obviously, it will have healed. That was years ago, but that was kind of the turning point for Ali. So we learned that about his character too, that there was some sort sort of near-death experience, supposedly, something to do with his chest. He had a big surgery and he refused the morphine, and from then on was like, don't put that shit in my body, and that kind of assumingly started his sobriety journey. Like I said, I do think it's the strongest aspect of this episode, but then he's not really a part of the episode at all very much. We have a lot of these scenes where it's just Rue talking to people and telling them what's going on. I think that's because this situation with Lori Alamo, Rue, and the DEA is extremely clunky and confusing. Like I said, first draft vibes. Maybe I'm an idiot, okay? And maybe I am having trouble keeping it straight because I'm not as smart as some of you film bros who might be judging me. No, but I genuinely feel like it's just bad writing. I can't keep straight what she's doing, when, and why. I don't understand what she's having to do for Alamo. She did the 3D printing of the key. Very clunky. I don't get why she's having to go back to Lori. I don't know what information she's trying to get from the DEA. Like, I truly cannot keep the stakes straight. We have not one, but 2.5-ish conversations where Rue is describing the situation to Lexi, who doesn't believe her, but then again to Ali, and still I'm like, huh? The layer with Leslie too and her mom, that's another layer. Bishop is threatening Leslie and probably Gia so that Rue goes back to Lori and tries to get, that's where it's fuzzy to me. I know she's in deep shit. I know that she has to do this thing, and if she pulls it off, she'll put Lori and Alamo behind bars and everything with the DEA should be cleared away. But I also know that Bishop is holding her mom hostage. So bad writing. We have way too many characters like this, like Nas, like Alamo, like Lori. There's just too many big dick swinging, dangerous ass people that I don't give a fuck about. Like, we had this intro with Ali. Great. Okay. Bring me my girls. No. We move into Big Eddie, who's alive. Hold on, pause, hold that thought. Big Eddie and Alamo, again, talking about the plan. Babe, I still don't know what's going on. What? Girl. So they're talking about shit, and his poop bag, sorry, that's an offensive term. His colostomy bag is just hanging out. And again, I'm like, bring me my girls. Where are all the hot people? Jules? No, babe, not in this episode. Bishop? Not in this episode. Not that he's part of the hot people, but like, can I get some consistency? If you're gonna show me new people, can I get some more information about them? Can I see them every once in a while consistently? You have too many characters. It seems like every time you get writer's block, you just add another cowboy ass, Quentin Tarantino ass, big dick swinging ass, creep ass, problematic ass character. Ellis. What was the point? Not that I want more Ellis. No one's saying hashtag more Ellis. But why Ellis? Build on the fantastic fucking career launching, Emmy winning characters that already fucking exist, that have questions surrounding them, that have, I would kill for these characters and to be tasked with writing to further their storyline. Like, now you're gonna make me fucking mad. You can't write. You're not good. You're not cut out for it, okay? We should have known when he put out The Idol. I didn't watch that shit. Heard it was a flop. Heard it was a lot like this. Season 2 of Euphoria was iffy. If you can stomach it, go watch Assassination Nation. Take this man's devices from him. Truly, I will never consume anything he puts out ever again. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. The tangents are flowing today. This shit it's genuinely pissing me off. And I've been trying to have a positive attitude about it, but the fact that we're this close to being done, and I've stuck with it for this long, okay, and I'm proud of myself for that, because I wanted to quit. Now we're fucking here. When I remembered, because this weekend was weird since it was Memorial Day, when I remembered that it was Sunday and I had to watch watched this shit, I damn near cried. I'm not even lying. I damn near cried because my time is precious. There's a lot of fucking content out there that I would much rather be watching, but I'm sticking through this shit, discoursing about it like a bad book that I'm reading just so I have something to talk about at book club with everybody. I don't know. Thank God it's only 8 episodes, and truly, truly never again. We're like 20 minutes into the episode and I'm like, why do I care? Did I ask about your colostomy bag? My best to you. I hope you heal. On Big Eddie, let's talk about it. Okay. Accountability time. Guys, am I canceled? Was that literally not him in the bathtub that Bishop was going to cut up? Was that another black man? Let me know. Scout's honor. I was confused and perhaps confusing another black man for Big Eddie. And if that is the case, that is not okay. And I do apologize for that. I am just quite lost when it comes to that character in particular. So I thought he was dead. I thought they killed him because he let them go into the safe. So that's not the case. I assume he got some sort of medical assistance, obviously, because he has the colostomy bag and stitches. So he had to get some kind of surgery or something. Is he working for the DEA, I guess? I did not clock that. I saw that in a TikTok. And I guess that would make sense. If he had some sort of medical procedure, he was probably intercepted by the DEA, and that would explain why they're listening in to and talking about that whole situation with Kitty getting a BBL in Mexico. Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Bring me my girls. 25 minutes into the episode, we're still on this shit where Big Eddie is having to ride with this other white supremacist. We're spending time on that. And then Kitty and someone else are in the back of the car coming back from Mexico. Did they already get the procedure? And then there's a bunch of drugs in the car. Okay. And then cut to the Nazis are celebrating. They're celebrating getting rid of their drugs, question mark. Or was the car going to Mexico? When I tell you I can't keep up, and maybe that's on me. Maybe I'm slow with keeping track of that and I'm distracted. Maybe I need to lock in more when I watch these episodes. I am lost. And then why is Rue and Marshawn Lynch, sorry, I don't know the character's name. Why are they up in the hills? Why does he have an AR-15 pointed at people? And then she headbutts herself and she goes and tries to reclaim her spot in Lori's gang, but she's lying. Who, what, where, when, why? I know I'm jumping around this episode more, but so does the show. We're like jumping between Rue's storyline and situation and then to Cassie and Nate's and Maddie's situation, but I'm gonna talk about them kind of separately. So Faye, she's giving girl's girl for at least a second, but really she just wants Rue to get her the money that she was promised. And I also forgot about that was another element, and that's how Rue got Faye to send her a picture of that key. And from Faye's perspective, I do see how she just feels used. Her and Rue both kind of go back and forth from utilizing their friendship to get the other to do what they want. Also, money as kind of leverage. Rue promises Faye 10% or something of the money that was in Alamo's safe. And for Faye, that would be her getting agency for like the first time in her life in a long time. She's just, for as long as we've known her, she's been at the mercy pretty much of whatever boyfriend she's with, whatever drug lord she's working for or working under. And she could get out of muling, which I think she has stopped muling because of her relationship with Wayne. Again, what am I saying? Was she muling or was she not muling? Never thought I would see the day, because I would never I am willingly watching this show, but I would never watch a show about this type of stuff. Breaking Bad, all of that. I watched the first couple seasons of Breaking Bad, but never watched the rest of it just because it's not my thing. It's a great show. It's just not my thing. Like the whole desert, hopping the border, drug dealing, even like Ozarks. I don't know. It's just not what interests me. Maybe it's because it's hard for me to keep up with who owes who and who's trying to undercut this person and who's undercover. When I'm watching TV, it's hard for me to keep all of that straight, and I would rather worry about who is allegiant to House Green, who is allegiant to House Targaryen, who owns a dragon and who doesn't, what dragon is loyal to what Targaryen type shit. Like that I could keep straight. On the other hand, this man doing this thing to this man, in one ear out the other. But anyways, Faye, this money could get her to a point where, because I think she's kind of questioning Wayne, especially after he hurts Rue and cuts her and is like talking about hurting her. I think Faye genuinely does care about Rue and wants to be a girl's girl and wants her to be okay. She views this money as a way that she could possibly make her own decisions and get away from Wayne and Lori and this white supremacist ass family. But then when the money isn't there, I kind of get her perspective of just feeling used and lied to, because that's all that seems to happen to her. And it's like, why does nobody treat me with respect? Why do I help everybody? And I'm so loyal to everybody and nobody is there for me. You know who I feel like would be friends? Faye and Maddie, because no one's looking out for Maddie the way Maddie's looking out for fucking everybody else. Justice for that girl. So there's nothing in the safe. Rue finds all of these IDs of missing women. Rue, I guess, is catching up to where everybody should be at this point. Alamo is literally the devil, or Pharaoh from the Moses story in the First Testament, however you want to fucking look at it. He is the ultimate bad guy. Which, what the fuck, dude? Of course, the real big bad is that the Nazis, oh, no. It's this large menacing black man, actually. That's the real big bad trafficking guru. This is what I'm saying. Fully fuck that dude. You know who I'm talking about. Sam motherfucking Levinson. Gross. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Gross. That's where we're at. I don't think there's gonna be any type of big reveal or of it going any other way than that. I feel like I see the conclusion and how it's gonna play out, but who knows? I could be wrong. I am gonna watch. For as much hate as I've been giving this in this episode, I'm gonna see how it plays out and we're gonna talk about it. And then literally, guys, we're so moving on thanks to you. Now I get what I want. We're gonna be on that type of shit. It will be a Renaissance level awakening of this pod and of our lives. I truly believe we will be covering things that are way better. Okay, so just hold on tight, because life is a journey, a dream, and a ride, and we're all on it together. I'm done talking about the desert and the wild, wild west at this point. I'm gonna move on to my girls, Maddie Perez and Cassie Howard. Let's chit chat about what's going on with that. You better work. Justice for Maddie Perez. Period. That's it. This girly pop loses her job because Cassie's bitch ass went to that audition and that was not Maddie's idea. And she made the network or whatever, LA Knights, is not even going to use Cassie anymore because they're scared of how it looks to have somebody who did OnlyFans being cast on a show. We have this scene where clearly, like, guy with the money is able to put the kibosh just like that on Cassie having a recurring role in LA Knights. However, they're fine with the story. They actually love the story. So who fucking wins in this whole situation? None other than one of my most hated characters this season, which is saying something. Lexi, who I am fully not a fan of anymore. In the first season or two, Rue was very clearly the Sam Levinson character, or the character that I think he could really speak to, at least from the addict's perspective. In terms of lived experience, I think a lot of the most authentic writing in the first two seasons came from Rue, and then also Zendaya's performance with that. Now in this season, Rue's character isn't even really touching on that anymore, and I feel like Lexi has now become kind of the Sam Levinson character, the character that he seems to be putting a lot of himself into. I feel like his voice and Lexi's are synonymous, of just the judgmental way she views Cassie and the work that she's doing, but also Maddie and Rue. She's just a judgmental fucking bitch and all high and mighty, but then uses their stories for social interactions, like with Maddie and when she's talking about Rue and how crazy she is and what she's talking about her life. And she uses Cassie's actual real life experiences that she is being super judgmental about to her own benefit. She fucking exploits her, just like Sam Levinson does. So fuck Lexi, fuck Sam Levinson, over it, period. And I never thought I would be saying it. She wrote that awesome play, loved her in season 1 and 2. How the mighty have fucking fallen. And I said it while I was watching it, and I'm not scared to say it. Maude Apatow is not that good of an actress. I defended her, but no more. She is a fucking nepo. Rant over. So Maddie loses her job. Cassie also doesn't have a job. They're flopping. Not to Maddie's fault. She didn't do anything fucking wrong. So she bursts into Cassie's apartment. Cassie is once again just like an emotional wreck on the floor. Maddie is gearing up to hit a bitch. She's cracking her fingers. Her claws are out, literally. You can tell she wants to get violent. The fact that she's still pretty much ride or dies for Cassie to the extreme in this episode, as we'll get to, but like the fact that she's not getting violent, I think, is somewhat of an arc with Maddie, but she's always just been a ride or die bitch. She has always bore down for the ones that she loves and cares about, and I think her and Cassie do just have that unbreakable bond. But I think even she is like, why do I fucking keep letting you back into my life and fucking my shit up? Unfortunately, I think these two need each other. Maddie needs Cassie to help her make a lot of money. Now she's fully committed to, as her former boss said, like a modern day madam, which I don't agree with that terminology, but basically her work with Cassie and then Kitty and Magic, that's gonna be like her full gig now because she lost her legit like big girl job. Cassie needs Maddie to help her get her following back because we see Cassie trying to get her account back and that's just not happening. So they then scheme and do this insane thing to the Timothée Chalamet character. They basically exploit him and Cassie and him go out. She gets him drunk. She has sex with him and it is this insane, wild sex scene that I wish I could delete from my brain. She gets him to take a selfie with her and she memorizes his phone password and then unlocks his phone and posts a picture on his Instagram that is trending. And of course, this is another thing that Lexi is looking down on them for and is questioning their morals. She's like, what has happened to all of you? Like, I can't believe that you would do that to him. Again, having this moral high ground when literally, bitch, you are benefiting off of the work that your sister does, exploiting that with her writing. They have a little moment of happiness because Cassie gets her followers back. That shit she posted on Dylan's social media goes viral. She's trending for multiple hours. We have this nasty ass, cryptic ass, yucky ass reminder that Nate is in deep shit and there's a lot to unpack here. So clearly Jacob Elordi was doing, I think, Wuthering Heights. He, as many people have clocked and said, I've ebbed and flowed with this sentiment, but people are saying he was clearly checked out of this show and he just clearly, like, his shooting schedule was not the same as everybody else's. They were able to do the wedding episode and even that was pretty like shot around. I think a lot of his part of the show was shot at a different time than everybody else. He has no scenes with anybody in this show, really, even Cassie. His storyline feels so separate and has felt so separate from what everybody else has been doing. They've tried to intertwine it with what's going on with Cassie, but even Cassie is like forgetting and not taking seriously what's going on with Nate Jacobs. So like, why would I? Like, she fully has his finger in the freezer and is having sex with another man. What human actually would act like that? Except an extremely morally compromised one, which I just feel so much of that judgmental tone that Lexi has, that it feels like that is the tone of the show. But then we have these Nazis and these fucking sex traffickers getting kind of like the plot, like their movements and their shit. They're completely morally depraved. changed, but they're just having like this back and forth kind of normal plot movements. Whereas the characters that started the show aren't even interacting with each other really. And it's just this forced owing $1 million to a loan shark storyline that Nate Jacobs was having. And it's completely detached for the most part from the other storylines that are going on. Nate Jacobs was such an integral part of the first 2 seasons that they were all very intertwined and connected, and it just didn't feel like that at all this season. I think it's a really horrible disservice to that character. Not that this was a likable character or a lovable character by any means, but I think it was an important character, especially in the first season. You could maybe say the first 2 seasons, but Nate Jacobs was a portrayal of a person that exists and hasn't really authentically been portrayed before to that level, and we just completely lost that this season. There was no point to what was going on with him. It was just torturous. I know I'm moving away from the Cassie and the Maddie of it all, but we had all this kind of light-hearted, morally questionable stuff that they were doing, and then we're just brought back and reminded with this finger of how dark the situation actually is with Nate Jacobs. Yeah, it feels like he's just been beat up on this entire season just for him to eventually meet his demise in this horrible, horrible way. I was talking to a friend and I equated it to Game of Thrones when Joffrey dies in Game of Thrones and how satisfying that is. I didn't feel any type of satisfaction with Nate dying in this way. It felt kind of like Sam Levinson being like, isn't this what you wanted? Like, now watch him be 6 feet underground, like begging for his life. After this entire season, there's been no arc. There's been no, like, don't even get me started about the dicks on his phone, bro. That the truth dies with the man. Buried in the ground. We will never fucking know because of lazy writing, bad scheduling. It's just a fucking bummer. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They could have done something really, really cool with this character, with the time jump forward. They could have done anything, and yet they did this. And it's just ass. Like, it's not good. And I hate that creepy ass background music that sounds like the Dune soundtrack. Just the, like, it's unsettling. It's just such a fizzle out. Nate was being punished. We were being punished. It was upsetting to watch just for no other purpose other than to be upsetting. And the after thing, the snake guy, he was also giving creep ass. I'm sorry, but it's just like creep ass dudes who get off on upsetting people. I'm not here for it. I can think of a million other things that you could have done with that character, even with scheduling limitations. What if instead of him and Cassie being married, what if instead Nate is in his first homosexual relationship and he's like dealing with that? What if it wasn't him getting involved with a loan shark? What if it is him and Cassie getting married, but he still can't outrun his homosexual tendencies? He doesn't want to be like his dad, but this truth is undeniable. He's pursuing this wedding. He's pursuing taking over his dad's business. It's going decently well. He's playing the part, but at the end of the day, he cannot deny who he is. Maybe Jules shows up to his wedding and it's this big, crazy emotional moment. It really was right there. But no, you wanted to do this Tarantino ass beating up on this guy. It's giving like you wish you were 6'5", so you're gonna make him say that he's 6'5" and then beat the fuck out of him and bury him underground and have him begging for his life with his hands and feet zip tied. And then you have 2 women in tiny dresses. Sydney Sweeney's boobs are falling out of the dress. 6-inch heels in the desert to go find and dig up his body. No, yeah. Let's do that. That makes a lot of sense. Like, it's bad. And we have Cassie, I know this is jumping ahead. Obviously, shit catches up to Cassie. She's not able to ignore the situation that Nate is in, even though, like, it's so weird that she's avoiding that in general. They show up at her house, at her apartment. She's being held hostage. She reaches out to Maddie for help. Then Maddie has to reach out to Alamo. I fucking hate that shit. He's being weird with her feet, making her wear that swimsuit. It cuts away. I hope because he was like, come closer. I don't like that shit, obviously. And Alamo goes with them. He kills Nas, takes care of that situation for them. He was never planning on giving Nas the $1 million for Cassie. Why would he ever do that? Again, just going back to, it's insane the level of trust that the women in this show have. Alamo, after he kills Nas and they're digging Nate up, he says that they still owe him $1 million because he did all that shit for them. I don't know how all that's gonna unfold in the penultimate episode. Hopefully Rue is able to finesse the situation and have Alamo go down and go to prison and rot in jail in hell forever because he's a literal human trafficker, so that Maddie and Cassie don't owe him $1 million. Unfortunately, we have another wrench in the situation because Maddie, girl, love you down, but you were running your mouth. I blame fucking Lexi because, again, she's trying to like seem cool to Maddie and is like, oh yeah, Rue is talking crazy. She said she works for Nazis and the DEA. So fuck Lexi, because then Maddie unknowingly incriminates Rue and gets her fucked with Alamo because now Alamo knows that Rue is probably doing shit with the DEA. And we have Faye. Girl, why you gotta do this shit? Waking Wayne up while Rue and her are robbing the safe. So our girl, once again, is not in a good situation. How is everything going to play out in the final episode? I cannot wait for this shit to be over. Rest in peace, Nate Jacobs. He was getting chopped up all season and finally it's over. He's dead. Yeah, I just have no words. I, like everybody else, I hate it. I think this was lazy writing, lazy production. I don't know. I just think this show is a flop. We need to call it what it is. We need to speak honestly about how shitty Sam Levinson is. Not only is this stuff foul and awful and harmful, it's also just not good. He's not good at what he does. That's that. It's hard for me to navigate where things are gonna go for Maddie and Cassie. Jules obviously wasn't even in this episode. It makes literally zero sense as to how she ties into any of this. I feel like overall her and Nate's character should have just been cut from the show because they have zero substance in this season. They add nothing to anything. So yeah, it's just super unfortunate because they had those, Nate and Jules were such interesting characters and made the early seasons of the show kind of what it was, in my opinion. So I'm just over it. Thank you all so much for listening and commenting and engaging with the content I've been putting out about this show. I'm very excited to move on. If you have any suggestions or content that you would like to have me watch and speak about, feel free to direct message me or leave a comment and let me know. I am a woman of the people, for the people. But I think after this, we're really gonna be obviously covering House of the Dragon June 21st when that comes out. Aside from that, we're really going to be diving into women created content, lesbian, gay, walla like fruity, that type of shit. So we're going to purge some of these negative feelings that we've been feeling with this show because I'm just ready to move on. Tune in next week for my coverage on the finale. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to follow me. Check out the films that I've written and directed. All the links for that are in the description of this episode. I will see you next week. Lilas.